Yes, and we all hope to see each other in person and to share a glass of wine, and certainly not virtually. I think that we
Yeah.
all agree on that. I think that you pointed out something interesting, Rodrigo and Alfredo, in terms of our people. It's another thing because I mean we have all our people working in their homes, and they can work. I mean, okay, we were not prepared, but okay, they are doing fine. But we are somehow more connected because we may see each other almost every day in these platforms. However, there's another side that we have, I mean, to take care of, and it is their, I mean, their health, their mental health, their well-being. I think that that's a very important thing that we also, I mean, that we are all also working in trying to know how our people are in their houses. You mentioned, Rodrigo, their situation, their family situation. Where do they live? If they live alone, if they have, such in my case, 5 children, if they can work or they cannot work. We are all dealing with our children's school, and we all have to have more computers and so on. So at the end, we have to take care of our people in more aspects than the aspects that perhaps we used to take care when we were in the office.
I must say, Francisco, all that to us, everything has been positive. Everything.
Mhm.
It has put us in a situation where, as you well said, we must think creatively. And if we look into the facts of what is happening in Colombia and around the world, many things that we all knew that existed became a real issue. Like in Colombia, poverty. We knew that there were poor people, but we didn't know that there were so many poor people. And so the state had to come into the help of those people. So it has been created kind of a minimum income, no, and the solidarity has become apparent, which is very good. And I think that sustaining that has been very, very positive. That probably will not be able to be taken away. So into the future, probably we are walking into the path of these kind of initiatives of Piketty, the French economist, of a global minimum income. So there are things that were happening in theory, but that's starting to happen now, which is very good. What we have seen is that there is enormous attention right now into making the world sustainable. You have seen the reaction of the environment. We have seen bears walking through the cities in Bogota, in Colombia. We have seen the waters of Cartagena and the dolphins coming back. We have seen the environment coming back, and a bigger environmental conscience around, which was kind of fashionable on one side, and now it seems different. So if we all see those facts, it seems to us that we're walking into a new reality, which is much more sustainable. When there is environmental conscience, where there is social conscience, where there is also financial conscience. We have seen certain areas moving forward. 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, we're advising the CAF, the Andean Financial Corporation, in the issuance of bonds for $800 million. It went successfully, as pretty normal, but we have seen other areas like bankruptcy and so forth moving forward. As you know, probably we represent a very big percentage of Avianca's creditors and aircraft lessors. Now it's the issue of cross-border reorganizations. So probably the trend is into the world, into looking more into when we have a global problem like this, we need global solutions. But we have is each country adopting its own measures. So probably with this, we are walking into a more unified global system that looks into the sustainability of life, sustainability of environment, and sustainability of also of financial sustainability, because not everything can be for free, and nobody can afford that. So in that thing, we have seen enormous new opportunities. One of the new opportunities that we are very much committed with is FOLU, which is the Food and Land Use Coalition of the United Nations. Probably half of the food in the world is being lost every day, and there are people dying of hunger. Probably there are more people dying of hunger than people dying of COVID-19 at this time. So if we become more efficient all over the world, we can make it a better world. In Colombia, well, probably in Latin America, where most of our countries depend on commodities and so forth, we're seeing that the commodities, oil, gas, coal, are not fashionable anymore. So probably we will have to need to rethink our countries in a different way. How do we create income and make our societies sustainable? Probably turning ourselves into a services industry. What to do? So there are only opportunities in thinking forward. In terms of this United Nations Coalition, Food and Land Use Coalition, we have been helping them to create laws in Colombia. Then there is the issuance of green bonds, the issuance of blue bonds for sea-related projects, for fisheries and so forth. So this is all very, very interesting, and we have seen here an enormous array of possibilities. What we have seen is, just to close, is that we are all everywhere in the same tempest, in the same torment, but we are all on different boats. So I am very, very, very grateful because I live a privileged life. We have not missed anything, of course, but seeing friends. But in the middle of this, we have seen enormous, fantastic possibilities into moving forward. So creating and being creative, this is a fantastic experience, a fantastic exercise. And by force, we are driven into that. And I'm very happy with that. It's taking the best of us.
Yeah, I would mention a couple of things more on a domestic or specifically in our industry point of view, not from a national point of view. First of all, I think this has been a huge enhancement to the teleworking, working at distance, which was something that we were discussing a lot within our firm, which is a requirement by many of our associates, especially those with small kids. And I think we were all somewhat reluctant to enter into that world, and now we have been forced, and it's been proven that it works. It could work very well, and I think this this should be a good outcome of this crisis. And I think we are all now thinking, and I think in this time of flexible time works, working from home. The possibility of attending meeting, even in kind of hybrid meetings, that some of them attending physically and some of them via teleconference, and I think that is a good outcome of this. The second thing that I would like to mention, and maybe Benjamin can add others, is that in an area where all law firms are suffering of more and more competition and reduction of fees, more control on fees, we have to face, of course, and we have to decide on reduction of costs as well. And real estate costs are probably number one of the costs that we all face. And notwithstanding the comment that Bernardo mentioned that the Google president had said, that I don't really like that comment and hope it's not true. We believe that with this increasing in teleworking and increasing of virtual meetings instead of physical meetings, we should all have the opportunity to reduce the expense in real estate. And because we were all used to have huge, of course, private offices for all lawyers in our firm. Until 5 years ago, all lawyers, even associates, have their own offices. Now it's not the case anymore for associates, but I think we are all thinking in helping our budgets, having smaller offices even for partners, maybe the need for meeting rooms can change, and so this has been I think a good opportunity to understand how this should work.
I can only agree with my colleagues. I think on the short term, we will obviously all pay the bill, but I think Latin America as a region, we will come back stronger. I think there are a lot of lessons we as a country have learned from this. On the positive side, I think our government has realized what it means really to have strong institutions. One of the weaknesses that has been exposed during this pandemic has been the lack of capacities of the public administration, for example, for procurement. It is clearly becoming now one of the priorities. The government has been very, very inefficient in terms of making government purchases during this crisis, and this is clearly going to become a priority, having a transparent and efficient procurement system for all government acquisitions. In terms of technology, I agree with you, Pancho, the same as in Argentina. We are seeing our judiciary, our public registries taking strong steps in terms of progress in technology, things that they should have done long time ago. Now, suddenly, everything becomes electronically managed, virtually managed, things that should have happened since a long time ago. Even in the arbitration field, where already in many different jurisdictions, especially Europe and the US, things were happening virtually. In our countries, we were still very much old school, and we were managing things on physically presential meetings and hearings. This is clearly changing and has started to change. The other positive trend, I think, for big cities like Lima, better times will come. People and the administration of the city are realizing it's not possible to manage 10 or 11 million people cities like we used to do in the past. And these cities need to become more friendly. I was talking this week to the mayor of Lima. He's clearly changing completely plans in terms of how mobility in the city and how transport in the city will happen. And clearly, we will see much more in terms of alternative transport means inside the city, not so much the big public transportation, but more alternative communication among us.
Just one quick note as a funny thing that's happening to one of the partners of our firm, a lady, one of our youngest partners, Diana. So she's fortunately pregnant, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we're telling her, well, is it a boy or a girl, and how are you faring with all of this? What's going on, and what's going to be? Have you thought about names? And she says, well, yeah, I mean, I've thought about a few. But clearly, the front runner is Covidio, giving the, and so she's well, obviously joking, but at least she's making fun out of it, and that's one of the funny things. And that this kind of comment happens, which is, I guess, the positive of it. It happens not just as it happens in a meeting where there's maybe 50 people of our firm, and she's just having fun with it. So people laugh with her, and that's I think one of the best positives that I see here, to be honest.